Katie and Matt, walking the scene with you in old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insights so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands tall. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome back to a super special birthday night for the VHS Club podcast. Cheers to 3 years, Nat.
Cheers to 3 years. Happy birthday, us.
Happy birthday, us. It all worked out because we've had to move most of the
man.
days of our podcast recording for the next couple weeks. So we're sorry in
Yeah.
advance to all of the tots who are trying desperately to keep up with us. But we have some really exciting episodes, and it just magically turned out that amidst sickness and earthquakes and everything else in between, we ended up on our birthday. So and no better movie to do, because this is one of Nat's favorites. So it's gonna be an exciting night. But before we jump in, I'm forcing Nat to do something with me. So and feel free to join along, whether you're hanging out with us live like Josh is, or if you are watching or listening later, you can just drop us an email or a social post or leave us a voicemail on our site.
Comments on YouTube.
Yeah, comments on YouTube, whatever you want to do. So let us know if you've been hanging out with us for the last couple of years. We're entering year 3. You can let us know, of the 70-ish, almost 80 episodes, which are your top 3. Nat, do you figured out which are your top 3?
Yes.
It's a hard one, because this is like every time someone says, "What's your favorite movie?" and I say, "No."
I don't know.
Nope.
I love our Pump Up the Volume episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's Pump Up the Volume, and people just went feral for it online.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, because it's Pump Up the Volume.
Yeah, and that one is both like that's one of our all-time favorite movies. And then it's also Christian Tater. And it's also like pirate radio podcasty. So yeah, that one was on my top 3 as well.
Yeah.
All right,
And it's a huge like cult classic as well. So
cult classic.
It's just as fun.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack. It had a lot of things.
It had a lot of
dialogue, great dialogue, great script. Great, it was amazing.
And you're gonna have to go like all the way back for that one, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not looking at the full list of episodes.
Like episode 2?
It was past 2. I think it was like
3,
5 through 8, somewhere in there.
Really?
It's in the 5 through 8. So episode 1.
What was our first episode?
Empire Records.
Yeah.
Which we actually had to do twice, because the first one, all the tech issues happened, and we were like, well, we're done. so we definitely had to do that episode twice. And then episode 2,
like a wet blanket.
Episode 2 is That Thing You Do.
Oh, that's right.
And then I think episode 3, Doc joined us, and we talked about Can't Hardly Wait. So it's got to be like 4, 5, 6, or 7. But yeah, that one was on my top 3.
It's in the beginning.
Okay, so Pump Up the Volume, because all the reasons. Yeah.
Yes. Labyrinth, because apparently I say the word swoon so much in it that people tell me that it was really funny.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, and Jareth swoon. So I like, just because I've got that feedback so much, and also because who's still not in love with Jareth, the Goblin King.
Yeah.
So that one for sure.
Yeah. That was a good one. That wasn't in my top 3. So hey, we don't match up. All right. And what's your third?
Third, I have no idea.
Oh.
Maybe the one that I couldn't log on to for the life of me for
Ferris
more than
Bueller's?
3 to 5 seconds. Yeah. like I had so much to say and I was so excited Lou was joining us.
We'll need
I
to
just
redo that
couldn't
one.
log
We'll have to
on.
redo the Ferris Bueller episode. There's so much to say about that movie.
Yeah, it was, so that was kind of funny. That one sticks out. And what else? I mean, so many.
Josh is tuning in. So Josh says that his top 3 are Batman 1989, The Goonies, and Home Alone. Yeah, so those ones were definitely in my top as well. So
Goonies, I had "Hey You Guys" stuck in my head for like a month. Hey you guys! I mean, we talked about the episode for an hour. It's like several months of that in my head.
I think my top 3, and I hope the other guests will. So I had a hard time with this because I love having guests on, and it's super hard to like pick an episode with a guest versus not a guest. But I will just say I loved. So same. My number 1 was Pump Up the Volume, hands down.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Empire Records because we had to do it twice because of all the tech issues, and I love that.
We folded
movie.
so hard that first.
We
time.
folded so hard the first episode. We left it up.
Nope.
We left it up on YouTube so you could watch all of the epic fails, and then we called the first episode the remix. So you can go and check that out if you want to.
We did watch the remix Empire edition.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it made sense.
And then I think my third favorite is the Twister.
Is it Twisters?
I knew it. Well, Twister, not Twisters. Twister. We talked.
Yes.
Although we did tease and talk a little bit about Twisters, but I just geeked out over the weather. I just thought it was so. Not at all
Jen's
about
amazing.
Movies, but yeah,
amazing. Love her. Love her podcast.
Yeah.
Love talking about storms.
Storm
Loved
chasing. Yeah.
Bill Paxton, who is also in tonight's movie, Streets Fire, a rock and roll fable. Which I don't know, like, if you haven't seen this movie, be forewarned. There are several like almost jump scare shocks with some of these actors.
Yeah.
Like Bill Paxton is such a dweeb in this movie.
Yeah.
Such a dweeb.
Well, Josh
Clyde
has
is.
not seen it, and he's asking if we're surprised. We're surprised. He's looking forward to learning more about it. Well, allow me to shock you for a second here, Josh. Here, just for 1 sec. Let's just appreciate this. There we go. All right, we're talking Willem Dafoe, black
a very
vinyl
buff.
overalls. He's got like greaser hair. There's flames behind,
like a pompadour.
Yeah.
He's walking through fire in a vinyl pleather coverall, overall, whatever thing that stops just under the nips. So his pecs are full out on display, and he's very buff. And this movie is 40 years old, and I'm still not over, like, I still don't know how to wrap my brain around a very buff Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. It's when they said Streets of Fire, they were being literal. They're literal Streets of Fire. So, all right. So, before we get too ahead of ourselves, this is one of Natalie's favorite movies. So we're rating this one high, regardless of what I think.
Yeah.
And Nat's gonna carry this episode because I watched this for the first time. So Nat,
which is shocking. So I bought this movie at Blockbuster, by the way, in the like dollar bin. So I don't know how.
I don't know.
It was the Blockbuster on St. Charles, not your Blockbuster on St. John's.
I've seen it and I just like blacked out.
Blocked it out,
blacked it out completely.
I have to say, I have so many factoids about this movie, and I realized I can't confirm, like I can't find where I learned these facts because it's a different internet. Like that internet got wiped.
Facts. Yeah, these may or may not be true.
The like late 90s, early 2000s internet, like they dumped those servers. They're not like that internet's gone. No more Angel Fire, okay? Okay, so
hey, Chance, thanks for hanging out.
Plot about the movie. A pop star returns to her not Chicago, but Chicago town to put on a show,
Mhm.
and her ex-boyfriend, who is an ex-soldier for hire, rescues her when she gets kidnapped by a vicious biker gang
Mhm.
led by a buff Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, this movie is like
That's the
post.
whole
That's the
plot.
whole plot.
That's
Fabulous,
and music.
fabulous soundtrack.
So also the
As
soundtrack
yeah,
plays is a character in this film.
yes,
Going into this, producers were like, the music is as important as the actors.
yeah,
this this movie is starring everybody. It's
yes,
starring Diane Lane,
hmm,
Michael Paré,
yep,
Rick Moranis, Elizabeth E.G. Daly.
hmm,
So what's interesting about her, she's a pop star, a singer in real life. She was not cast as the pop star singer in this movie, which apparently drove her crazy. She's like, I want to do that part. But she was always cast as the tiny, quirky girl, like sidekick best friend in like every 80s movie,
hmm,
every teen-oriented 80s movie.
yep,
She was the quirky sidekick.
yep.
Um, I don't think her character really had any point in this movie
She
except that it was her
she wrote her
and
own
she's the
character for this
quirky.
movie. She was like, I would like to just write my
Yeah,
character, and they were like, okay. So
yeah,
so she just kind of created her own character, which I think is incredible. Best fact
which
I've read in a while.
because she's yeah, that's I mean that's just who she is in every
Yep,
movie. It's
yep,
iconic. I mean, her legacy is she's that girl from every 80s
yep.
movie. I love her, and she's a great singer, but she doesn't sing on this soundtrack,
Nope.
shockingly.
But the soundtrack, as Chance points out, is absolutely fantastic. So this
Insane.
is up there with so in our first episode back a couple of years ago, we reviewed Empire Records, and we still laugh all the time that on the both VHS and DVD versions of Empire Records, it says things like amazing soundtrack, hot young cast. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
say anything positive about the movie itself. This movie
No.
also is a cult classic and also says things
Yes.
like amazing soundtrack, amazing cast. So
So
it's
this
bringing us
movie,
back to the episode
yeah.
one.
So this movie had a huge budget,
Yep.
which was apparently abnormal at the time.
Mhm.
And then, and this is the 80s, it went $14 million over budget, which I think is big for today to go over budget.
Yeah, it's not great.
For several reasons. One, because they had a whole original soundtrack.
Mhm.
They made up several original songs for the soundtrack.
Yep.
They hired popular musicians to do this. They also built this whole set. They tried filming it in Chicago, and it just was a no-go because, weather, because it's Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, screw that, we'll just build this sort of like almost multiverse like this. It's not quite our timeline.
No, it's like
Okay,
post,
but
it's
it's
post-apocalyptic sort of like it's
kind
got
not
yeah.
really. It's
I don't know,
kind
it
of
has
like
vibes. It has-
I find in the 80s, whenever there was something that was like not quite our timeline, but it
yeah.
was sort of reminiscent of the world we exist in, it always kind of was a throwback to the 50s
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like
that about the
50s,
80s.
but also like now, but also not
modern.
this world and modern. Yeah.
It was like
I mean,
neon and 50s. And it seemed
it's
like it was kind of a post-war situation.
yes.
He was like a soldier for hire.
Yeah.
When his girl ran off to be a rock star, he joined the military because he was so heartbroken.
Yeah.
All of course we find out later that she's just like, I thought we were still together and you just ditched me for 2 years. Like
Yeah.
you said nothing.
Yeah, he's not
And
a
he was
great
like,
boyfriend.
yeah, no,
real.
he's the worst. Like, I'm glad you went off and joined the military because you didn't understand that she's like, I'll be in and out. I just have to do some concerts because I'm a rock star,
Yeah,
but I love you and I still want you. And he was just like, "Mwah, I'm gonna go fight a war."
Not that we can critique this in any way. but,
Oh yeah,
but I will say that like that was the one part at the end of this movie where I was just like, oh come on, where he was like basically like says to her in
I
so
actually
many
loved it.
words where he was just like we can't be together because basically, like, you have this job and I can't just support you in your job. I also need to do my things. And I was like, or you
Well,
could just support her in her job and like
he's not
go
that
on.
kind of guy.
I
It's
guess.
kind of, I felt more like
guess.
he at the end was like, look, I love you and you love me, but it's not healthy that we're together. And he let her go so she could live her dream.
I feel
you
like
know?
that would have been better, but he like specifically calls out about her job. He was like, "Well, I can't just like go around on your job with you.
He's
on
like, I
tour
can't
with you."
carry your
Yeah.
guitars
I
for
can't
you.
carry your guitars for you. I was like, "You could though. You really could."
He did ask her manager slash boyfriend to do the breaking up for him because he's better with words.
Yeah.
He is at least very like, I'm really shit with words and feelings.
True.
So
he knows who he is.
I know guns.
I
can rescue the shit out of you.
So I have a couple of thoughts as it's now pouring back to me of watching this a couple of nights ago. I will say, I absolutely adore Rick Moranis and I wish he was acting again. And seeing him in this made me realize again how much I love him and miss him and think the world.
Good
of him.
actor, because he's the most likable person in the world, and he was so hateful in this movie. I actually wanted to punch him in the face in this movie, and I'm like, not Rick Moranis.
What's great about it is that Rick Moranis, like, is always going to look like your nerdy dad, uncle, boyfriend, best friend down the street, whatever, brother, like whatever. He's never the like hot, powerful guy, and yet he's playing this like smarmy, hot, powerful, like, I don't know, band manager guy, and
Music
it's believable.
Talent agent. Yeah,
except it's like never going to be believable because he's Rick Moranis. Like you're looking at him and you're like, but that's Rick Moranis. But then also she's like, you know, like this is the powerful, attractive like band manager, and I was like, really though, because it's Rick Moranis.
Well, she doesn't say he's attractive, but so they came up kind of in the same town. He was from the worst side of the tracks, but it doesn't look like she and Cody were from the good side of the tracks.
I guess he's supposed to be this like big, threatening, like powerful man. I was just like, I don't buy it.
He just has money.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
he's a smarmy Weasley little guy who got himself out of the battery.
I'll take smarmy and Weasley
because he was good with money. He figured shit out. He found talent. He knew how to push that talent and make himself money. She even says, because when she meets her like sort of stalker fan, which is Elizabeth Daily, or her name's Baby Doll in this movie, because most of them don't have real names.
She's the voices, like almost all the voices from Rugrats, and once you realize that, you can't unhear it, and you're like, oh my god, you're Tommy Pickles from Rugrats, and I can't not hear it, and you're so cute, and I just watch it again with that in mind.
When they bump into her and she's like, oh, I always wanted to be a singer, a musician. Like, I love your stuff. I'm your number one fan. She's like, how do you come up with these like deep, powerful, soulful songs and everything so heartfelt? She's like, Diane Lane, who's Ellen Ames, is like, well, I just sing the songs. Like, Fish, he buys them or steals them. I have no idea. I just get the songs and I sing them. She's like, I perform. That's it. But she's a great performer.
Also, Diane Lane, like, was not that she's not still incredibly attractive, but holy cow, like, young Diane Lane. Like, it took me a moment to be like, is that Diane Lane? And then I was like, it is. She was like preposterously attractive. Like, it's distracting.
I mean, she is.
She is. But, like, holy cow, yeah.
Like all done up as this like rock star goddess.
That's her vibe. Like I was just like, yes.
Apparently she pushed. So the character was supposed to be 28. So like Ellen Ames and Cody were in their late 20s.
Yeah.
And Diane Lane was like, I want this part. So she dressed up all like in like a fishnet bodysuit or something and leather pants to like show she's like a true rock chick. And they're like, okay, if you really want the part,
but I
guess
18.
we'll go for you. She 19 when she filmed. Yeah.
She received her high school diploma like as she was filming this.
Yeah. They wanted Daryl Hannah for the part, which would not have been the same. I get it.
She's a different kind of
at the time.
Yeah.
She's a different kind of hot.
She's a different kind of hot.
Super gorgeous, but different than. It was a good risk that they took. So I think one of the producers, creators, Joel Silver, whose name should be recognizable, putting out like big name movies and content. Like one that sits with Katie and I is he produced Veronica Mars, which was one of our favorite shows back in the day. / still is.
We may have to do an episode on the fact that was a show that turned into a movie. It relates.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We are marshmallows for life, but let's not digress too much. So Joel Silver came up with this idea he had in his head. He wanted to take all of the things he thought were super cool from movies when he was a kid.
Yep.
So like fire and car chases and gunfights and gangs and biker gangs. Kissing in the Rain was literally on that list, which I was like, I love you, Joel Silver. That's so cute. And a great soundtrack. And so I guess reading the script, there was like the Diane Lane and the Elizabeth Daily and the Michael Paré who are like, sign me the fuck up. This sounds like the best movie ever, which was supposed to be a trilogy, by the way.
Yep.
So heartbroken it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then there was the other producers who were like, I guess we'll just go with it. He seems so confident about it, but it's really shit script. And then when they were doing the editing, they're like, this is really fucking shit. And then it performed like real shit in the box office. Apparently it was like the biggest like loss in Hollywood history at the time.
So I read that, and obviously it's also like it's still like, renowned,
it's
and it's
coined the worst movie ever made in Hollywood.
It's totally like a cult classic now, and there are people who like it's like a rite of like if you're an actual movie lover, you love this movie. So I have to ask you, what is it about this movie that you love? Like, what sticks with you? Why?
I think it's all the things that Joel Silver wanted when he made the movie. It's the biker gang, the rock and roll, the fight scenes, the soundtrack. It's just the way it was all put together. It's memorable, it's exciting, it's fun, it's escapism too. It's escapism,
not
there's nothing serious about it. I know how stupid this is.
It's not. So I will
but
say
I love it.
It is like, so I have
the look too.
I don't even know if I could properly like describe my feelings for this movie. I don't love it the way that you love it. I can absolutely see why it's a cult classic. I think it is a very interesting world that he created. And it's funny, in some of like reading through some of the facts, one of them that I read said that basically he was trying to create a comic book that didn't exist. So it was like this idea of like a comic book, and which I actually think he really nailed.
It looks like a graphic novel.
It feels like a graphic novel, comic book. It feels very I don't know, in a vein of it, probably a little bit more of like a graphic novel than a comic book. But yeah, I thought it was like
very Sin City before Sin City.
It's very Sin City before Sin City. It has definitely a style, and you're right, it is like wonderful how many like this brings me back to, and I always script the name of this movie. Do you remember that we did an episode where we had Brian on from Cinema Psychos, and it was Nothing But Trouble. We talked about Nothing But Trouble. So this movie is, I think, a better execution of the nothing. I'm going to call it the Nothing But Trouble syndrome, where it's like you have someone who has like an absolutely genius idea and a really clear vision and a really big budget, and somehow pulls off the movie. And unlike Nothing But Trouble, where we were all kind of like, what just happened? This movie like actually works on some level. It's just it doesn't work on like a box office level, right?
I think what happened with that was actually the producers.
Yeah.
I think because it wasn't supposed to be a PG movie, but then they cut and tweaked a bunch of things to make it PG. So they forced it into a PG box because when the producers saw it like on the cutting room floor, they were like, oh my, and this could be like pre-soundtrack. I'm not sure. Yeah. There's no way to verify this, but if they just saw it without the soundtrack, I would probably think it's pretty bad too.
You're right. The soundtrack does really like
it makes the movie.
It carries the movie. But I don't know, like there is something about it that is quite captivating. And again, because it feels otherworldly. It feels like it feels comic booky, where you're it's a
bit gritty too.
It's gritty,
but hopeful. Like it has the romance.
Yep.
So it's not just about this like soldier for hire running around with his sidekick, which we have to talk about.
Yeah,
McCoy.
we have so
I
many
love
talks about
her.
the sidekick as well. We have to talk about the sidekick.
I
Yeah.
love McCoy.
Yeah.
And actually the trilogy was just supposed to be a Cody McCoy like buddy, like
Yeah.
a buddy cop trilogy, basically. Like it wasn't like Ellen Ames, I don't even know was going to be in the other movies. It was really just supposed to be Cody and McCoy. That was kind of the plan.
Yeah.
But like the love story and the chemistry there, I think it all just kind of carried into this. I mean, to me, it just seems like a regular old 80s movie. It ticks all of those boxes. Like, is it any different than, you know, Solar Babies or any different than Dream a Little Dream or any other batshit out there movie from the 80s?
Yeah.
Like, I think so. The producers, I feel, were trying to like, okay, let's get the rating down so more people will go see it. Maybe teens can go see it. Like, if we get like maybe they'll like the soundtrack or the hot actors or whatever. So they tried to fit it into that box. And I feel like maybe it just wasn't promoted for what it was supposed to initially be. And I think that's kind of where it fell apart, you know?
You're right.
And also the themes are like Willem Dafoe kidnapped. His name's Raven. I'm like, Buff Dafoe is what I call him the whole time I'm watching the movie.
Yeah.
So Buff Dafoe, aka Raven, steals Ellen Ames because he's like, you're super hot and we should just have fun for a couple weeks and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Super insanely adult topic.
Well,
like,
it's also,
she basically got kidnapped for sex.
But it's also very West. Yeah, she's chained to a bed. So like it's definitely not a teen movie. But it's got Western vibes from that. And even like the kind of final face off sort of like at the end is very like, it's very Western where it's like, you know, he shows up, they show up, the cops don't know what to do. They wish that neither of the people would show up. So
there's no way Joss Whedon did not kind of have this in the back. Like there's no way Joss Whedon didn't see this before he made Firefly. Brown coat, gun toting kind of Western, big showdowns.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This also hugely, it did do very well in Japan and actually inspired a shit ton of anime.
Oh, there you go. So,
and if like you could go and like there's a list somewhere and watching this, and I did grow up loving anime as well. I was like, well, yeah, of course I love this. And all the anime that's like kind of associated with this. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Let's talk about McCoy.
Oh God. So first off, the actress that went to read for it, and I can't remember her name at the moment, she went to go read for the part of Thomas Cody's sister.
Yeah, which she could have played fine, but I'm glad that she didn't.
She was very pretty. It's the way she was done up in this was a little more butch, but it was supposed to be that. So she's reading for this other character. She's like, you know, the sidekick character is the best character in this whole thing. Like, I would love to play that. And they're like, you know what? Let's do it. So they changed the character from like Mendez to McCoy and changed from a man to a woman. And she, like Cody, is a sort of, I guess, early retired soldier for hire. And she basically is like, you know, she insinuates herself into his life. Like, hey, I need a place to crash.
She just sort of invites herself along.
This was one of my favorites where she was like, he's like, you want a quick tumble? He's like, I'm not really interested. And she's like, oh, honey, I don't know how to tell you, but you're not my type. Like, he's this tall, broody, good-looking guy. And she's like, no.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
She does later, which I also love, seem to have this enjoyment with torturing the bartender, which is the super dweeby Bill Paxton, Clyde.
Yeah.
And she's like, so can we go to the bar? Like, this is after the rescue. She's like, you want to go to the bar? I really kind of want to bully Clyde again. And I was like, yes, I love this romance. Like, that better have been a recurring thing in the next two movies. Yeah. But she's ballsy, and he decides to take her along, you know, because she's a good mechanic, she's good with vehicles, she can handle a weapon, she's a soldier. And Rick Moranis Fish is freaking out. He's like, I'm not taking this skirt along. I'm not paying you to take this skirt along. And the more he calls her a skirt, the more Cody's like, she's a fucking soldier. She's coming, which I loved. Like their banter and their sort of sarcastic back and forth is fantastic throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they are absolutely awesome throughout the entire movie. And I love the initial scene where you first meet McCoy where they're at the bar. I think it's like fantastic because it's like wonderfully surprising. Like it's not at all what you would expect, and like the fact that she's not like, there are moments where you're sort of like, oh, like maybe these two are going to be like the couple that ends up together, and it's really fantastic that they're not. Like it's fantastic that they're just like friends and helping each other, and and she's so dismissive of him. Like I think it's great.
Yeah, they're the they're the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They're like, you know, the Lone Ranger, and like they're the two buddies in the movie, which is also very obviously Western trope as well. And I love that. And I love in the scene where Bill Paxton is like trying to be all macho around Cody, and he's like, yeah, like we don't run up tabs here. Show me your silver, you know, like, and so she pays him, and then he still tells her to get out because he's being all macho, and she's like, excuse me? And he's like, oh, maybe I just don't like you. So she beats the snot out of him, hops behind the bar, and she says to Cody, like, hey, what do you drink? Just I love her.
And then takes the bottle with her into the car afterwards, which is
she took
fantastic.
it home.
Yeah.
She's like, screw that guy.
Yeah. I do love the next morning as well, where she wakes up at his apartment and meets Cody's sister. And like, again, like they're like, there's at no point is she like ever it's like, you know, oh, you slept like on the couch, and she's like, yeah, like there's like no point that
sister's like, that's a first, and she's like, oh, maybe he needs to meet more people like me, and sister's like, he does need more women like you in his life. She's a fantastic I love that it was an established like friendship and partnership, you know, and I liked that, and I could see how that could have gone, like it carried the movie. And I mean, also the tension between Cody and Ellen was just fantastic. It's like he makes this big deal out of, I'm not going to rescue her, which we're like, we all saw the look on your face. Of course you're going to go rescue her. But he's like, I'm going to get paid for it. It's like, And then he goes and he rescues her, and she's like, I'm still in love with you. And he's like, that's cute. Go back to your rich little boyfriend. And he just treats her like he's just like talking her out of it. All the while she's like, you just can't admit you're in love with me. Just the back and forth between them. And then Fish just flipping out. I don't like how you guys look at each other. I don't like how you talk to each other. It's just, I think all of that just like tension and nuance, and it's just, that's why I like it.
It was, well, you've convinced me. It was a fun
You know
watch.
what? The first time I saw it, I was like, and I literally got this out of $1 bin at Blockbuster, because I'm like, ooh, the cover art is awesome. And I read the back of it. I'm like,
it's very comic booky. If you're listening to this, it's like, it looks like a 1980s comic book. Like
100%.
Kind of dark Batman vibes to it.
Yeah. And then I read the back, and I was like, that's not the craziest 80s movie I've ever seen.
No.
I'll get this. It's $1.
It's definitely not the craziest. Like, you're right.
No.
It's definitely not the craziest 80s or 90s
It's not
movie.
the weirdest.
It's not the weirdest.
Better Off
it's not
Dead
the worst.
is weirder than this.
Yeah. I think, like, in some ways, this is probably why I don't love it, is that like, this is a weird logic, but go with me here. I like a movie like Better Off Dead. It like fully embraces like how insanely weird it is. Like, I feel like what's missing from this movie for me personally is just that it's not quite weird enough. It's not quite dark enough. Like, it's on the level of being a blockbuster smash. It's just like, something in it is missing. And you're probably right that it's like, it was that the producers
that
changed the
PG
rating. It got
box.
cut out. Like,
Yeah.
so like, I feel like if it was like a little bit like snarkier, a little bit darker, a little bit weirder, like
I think if
like
it had
Willem
that
Dafoe was
PG-13
crazier, like it,
crazier. I have been haunted by Buff Dafoe for half my
okay,
life.
one more time so I can use this graphic endlessly. We'll just talk behind this for a second. I appreciate this graphic.
So crazy fun fact about this look, this ensemble of
if you're
Dafoe's.
listening, you need to come over to YouTube to just appreciate this or search Willem Dafoe Streets of Fire fire shot and see,
or just buff Willem Dafoe. It'll come up.
Yeah.
It's so he's wearing these vinyl overalls stopped just under the pecs, as I said, wide black straps, all black, no shirt, pompadour. Okay. He apparently at some point, for some reason, went into a sauna. Now, thinking about this, because he's quite buff, I'm assuming it's because
put him in between us.
For guys to look super cut and buff, they get dehydrated, right?
I guess, yeah.
So I think I heard some of the Marvel guys talk about this on interviews.
Sure.
I don't really know anything about weightlifting and looking cut, but whatever. So I think there's dehydration involved. So he went and sat in a sauna in this outfit, but it adhered to his body and caused such a medical emergency that production shut down for 3 weeks.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
not fun.
Yeah. And the fight scene at the end. So of course, Cody saves Ellen. They all end up back home. Raven and his sidekick, who was played by Leaving, who's like the lead guitarist of a punk band, which like he's been in other things. You would recognize. Yeah. He was in Clue.
He's the person where you see him and you're like, oh, I know that guy. And then I was like, oh, Clue.
Yeah. I'm like, we've totally talked about him. I think his punk band was Fear. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they go into this better, like quote unquote, better part of town, and they tell the cops, we want Thomas Cody, and we're gonna beat the crap out of him, and then we'll call it even. Which I'm like, wait, what?
Totally fair
Arrest
request.
him. Like, there's only 2 of them instead of the whole biker gang. There's only 2 of them there. Just put the cuffs on. They kidnapped a woman and held her as a sexual slave. Arrest them, right? No. So the cops
the
are
police
like,
are corrupt, so they don't care.
We'll just tell Cody to leave town, and that's the end of it.
Western vibes. They're like, no, that guy's got to get out of here.
Yeah, you got to get out of town, Cody. Which I love. Also, the cops treat Cody, and like the whole town treats Cody like he's some sort of like failure reject, when like he is an honorable military man who saves the woman for 0 money because he doesn't take the money. He just wanted to pay McCoy. And also he just wanted to make her manager / sleaze boyfriend squirm. That's it. Like, he did it because he loved her and because he's honorable, but they always keep trying to tell us that he's not a good guy, which is like not believable. So they have this huge fight. Cody gets Ellen out of town by taking her on the train, which also, that was another thing on Joel's list, was a train scene, because everything, like if you think about Risky Business or any scene that likens to Risky Business, and people always are like, oh, it's just like Risky Business in any movie. Like, a train scene at night is just great. It's very atmospheric. It sets this tone, this mood. Anyways,
I mean, I feel like I would be friends with him. He produced Veronica Mars, and his list is accurate for what I would include in a movie.
Yeah, absolutely. We are friends. And Joel and Kenny Ortega are now our friends. Just so you two know,
he may not be
part
the same
of our
level as Kenny Ortega. Okay, like Kenny Ortega is up here,
but you should check out his producers list. It's it's insane. He's done everything. He TKOs Ellen. He doesn't just like get her out of town and then sneaks away in the night. He literally is like, okay, I'm far enough out of town. Punches her lights out. And asks McCoy to just like take care of the body for now.
Things you hope your man will do, just like knock you unconscious, or have a conversation on a train. Yeah, exactly.
Could have used verbal cues.
Yeah.
Anyways. Oh, so then he goes back into town, and of course, he had a hard time getting back into town because the biker gang, was blocking off the town because
Well,
they
the
wanted to block
streets
it
are
off
on
for the fight.
fire now.
Literally on fire.
Literally on
Literally
fire.
on
Yeah.
fire. So it takes him some time to get there. And they're like, well, if Cody's not here to fight, we're just going to fight you. And the cops were like, shit, we're so unprepared for this brawl that we knew about a week ago.
Oh.
And Bill Paxton, God love him, in his
Mhm.
dweeby little gap tooth pompadour was like, I'll go get a pitchfork or a baseball bat or something. And he goes and riles up the townspeople. I say it like a town. It literally looks like Chicago. It has
Yeah.
like the L train and everything. And so, but in like this neighborhood, he goes and riles up the neighborhood. And then Cody finally shows up, and they have this epic fight scene between Cody and Raven, and they're fighting with weapons. And then Raven loses his weapon, and Cody can just knock him unconscious, murder him, whatever floats his boat at this point, because obviously the cops signed off on it.
Yeah.
Which they literally say, oh, thank God you're here. You take care of it. We'll step back.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah.
So it's like they gave him the seal of approval.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides, no, it's going to be an honorable fight.
Yeah.
So let's fisticuffs. Put him up, eh? Which is like, oh man. So then another whatever hour later, they duke it out. This scene took apparently 4 weeks to shoot. 1 month.
Yeah.
2 weeks with the actors and 2 weeks with the body double.
Well, I mean, after they got Willem Dafoe out of his crazy pants, it was probably intense delays.
Oh, he
All
didn't
the
have his
damage.
crazy pants on in this outfit,
No.
which makes me think that this was filmed after. He had a
Yeah.
whole new leathery outfit on, which was
Yeah.
equally fantastic.
Yeah.
There was like shoulder pads and big lapels and buttons and a wide waisted belt, and real tight pants. In some places loose, in others is the 80s. It was crazy.
I know.
love
Yeah.
the costuming.
So Scarlett, my 10-year-old, walked by at one point while I was watching this movie, and she walked by at the scene where it's like in the the underbelly of Willem Dafoe's gang, and there's
the torch bar.
there's the bar, and there's like slimy quote unquote biker gang people sitting all around, and then there's like a dancer, and then there's like scenes of
that was wild.
scenes of Willem Dafoe, and she walks in and she just looks up for a second, sees the dancer, the bar, etc., and she's like, is this an 80s movie? I said, yes, it's an 80s movie. She was like, okay, and then just kept walking through to the kitchen.
Everything.
Yeah, it was like, this just
No problem then.
this looks like an 80s movie. I was like, correct, yes. She was just like, great, see you later. Yeah.
You know what?
So I mean, it nailed it. Like from an 8, it had a vibe, and even a 10-year-old was like, yep, that's an 80s movie. See you later.
Nailed it. I think it was just poorly. I think they just didn't, honestly, to try and recoup costs, they didn't put any marketing into it. 'Cause
Yeah.
they just figured it would do bad anyways.
Yeah.
And without a ton of marketing, movies don't sell. And that goes still now for like Barbie was hugely successful, but they did all of the marketing.
Yeah, that's
Their
true.
marketing budget was insane, but it paid off.
Yeah.
But then you have other movies that are equally as good, phenomenal, that have zero marketing, and it's like on streaming like half a week after it's out in theaters.
I know, it's funny, we haven't done this one yet, which is a travesty, but Princess Bride, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, which we embarrassingly have not yet reviewed, was one of those
It's almost
movies.
too epic.
I know, yeah, it's almost too epic. But it was another one of those movies that like didn't really have an audience. They didn't know what to do with it. It completely bombed in the theaters, and it picked up and became a cult classic merely because of movie rentals.
Well, much
and-
like this movie, it created a genre.
Yeah.
Like it created a reference point. It was the first movie like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, this inspired anime. It inspired a whole country. It inspired. I mean, I would be damned if it didn't inspire Firefly, to a certain level. Like, there's so many references that are thrown back to this movie. Like you said, film buffs
Mhm.
our film snobs love this movie. Our friend Chris Bumray, who is a phenomenal
Hey,
film
Chris.
critic, he writes good pieces, does amazing interviews. Check him out.
Mhm.
I think I forget what's it called. Joe Blow. Is that where he was writing? And anyways, he does interviews, he does Sundance, he does everything.
Mhm.
Anyways, Chris Bumray, amazing. Check him out. He also, I remember him being like, "Oh my God, I love this movie." And I was like, other people know this
Other
movie.
people
There
like
was
this movie. Yeah.
and this was probably like the mid-aughts.
Yeah.
And I was just, Katie, how did you had to have seen this. This was
I
at our
don't know.
apartment. I remember we were in the
I-
backyard with Paps at our apartment.
I
You and I, our apartment.
I like have
And
all
Chris and I had a whole conversation about this.
I have all of the memories
Bumray and
of
Paps.
this movie. Like I remember like the box
cover.
art. I remember like
Yeah.
seeing it. Like I just don't remember the movie itself. So
I
don't know if I just
understand.
like never watched it or if I did and I just don't. I can't imagine that I didn't remember it at all. So I must just not have seen it for whatever reason. Like maybe we just thought I had seen it, so we didn't watch it together. I don't know.
Maybe I watched it so many times.
Yeah,
I mean, you did drive down often to visit Dane.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then boyfriend, now hubby.
I really don't know.
I don't
Dane
know.
gave you the ultimate compliment where I was watching this through and he came in and he said, "What's this?" And I said, "Streets of Fire." And he was like, "Is this a Nat choice? This looks like a Nat movie." I was like, "This is a Nat choice. This is a Nat movie." So yeah,
Hey,
he
he's
knows
one
you
of
well.
he's my buddy. He knows me so well.
He was like, "Yeah,
Besties.
looks like a Nat movie." Well, we've gotten to
Oh,
the point of rating. So if you're hanging out with, I don't think anyone
No.
in the chat tonight. We're on a special night, so we have less tots than normal. But
It's a very strange
But
night.
if you're hanging out with us, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being here with us for 2 years. That blows my mind. We're in year 3. We're turning 3 today. And yeah, if you want to review this one, let us know what you would rate it. If you are listening or watching later, we record the show live most Thursdays, except for the month of February, where we're moving to Wednesdays. Which is why it's really important to be part of our email list. So you need to swing over to the VHSclubpod.com and you can sign up for our email there. We're really good. We don't spam anyone. We literally just let you know when episodes are. And we're going to start in the next week doing giveaways. So if you want to win some cool stuff, definitely make sure that you're on our email list. But what do you think, Nat? I know you're like high potato rating. And I think I put in a potato rating without even consulting you. So let's see if we match up.
I think. Oh no, it's a 4. It's probably a 5 for me. It's a 5 for me. Who am I kidding? I love the soundtrack. I know all of these songs by heart. And we didn't even talk about the Sorels.
Oh, we can talk about the Sorels. We have a couple minutes. Go ahead, Nat. Tell us about the Sorels.
Sorels. So they come across them on this. They have to ditch their car as they're getting out of the battery, escaping with Ellen, and they need to ditch the car. And Fish doesn't understand why they're ditching the car because he's actually kind of a moron sometimes.
Yeah.
And McCoy is like, or no, Cody's like, "Well, just commandeer this. We're gonna hijack this bus."
Yeah, which feels totally normal in this post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cody has like all the guns, and so does McCoy. So I would have just gone with it. And of course, they come across this sort of doo-wop band, like kind of like the Four Tops. Like they're just incredible.
Yeah, they're amazing.
You know, they're all smartly dressed, and then they start singing their songs because they're like, "Hey, this is Ellen Ames. Like, could we be your opener?" And her manager's like, "No," and she's like, "You guys are awesome," and they do become her openers, which I think just that alone, because they're like, their bus gets jacked, they lose all of their instruments, all of their costumes, they lose their $1,000 cash, which seems like a shit ton of money in this movie.
Seriously.
Also was a shit ton of cash in 80s and now.
Yeah, still a lot of money. Yeah.
Still a lot of money. Have you seen groceries?
Yeah.
And she does take them to be her openers. So when she gets rescued and the fight is all over, the brawl, and the town is saved, she puts on a show to thank everybody for, saving and supporting her and to support the town. And they open. And I think like not the first time, but like more of like the fifth time I saw this, I was like, that's good. No, like I cried. I cried because I'm like, oh my God, she did take them to be her opener band.
They're
And then you
so
see Fish
ridiculously
does,
good
they're
too.
so
it's,
good.
It's like I could listen to this
Which
soundtrack forever. There's a company
crazy
called
story.
Mondo, Mondo, and they make vinyl soundtracks, like modern day quote unquote vinyl soundtracks for classic movies. And I'm like, the second I finished this, I was like, does Mondo have a vinyl album for Streets of Fire? So I will keep you posted, but it's that good.
It's
the
complex.
soundtrack.
So
Yeah.
they're a real band.
Yeah.
Not, I don't think they're actually, I don't know if they're actually called the Sorels or not.
Oh,
I can't remember.
You keep talking, I'll look it up.
And the issue that they had was the character Lester, who was the lead vocalist, I can't remember his name in the band in real life. Before the movie came out, or when it came out, he spliced together a music video for one of the songs to release, to personally
They're a
release.
fictional band. They're not real.
They're a
but,
fictional band.
yeah.
Well, the lead singer tried to release the song with a music video for the band using footage from the movie. So what they did was like, you can't do that. So they replaced his vocals
Oh, geez.
with somebody else.
Drama.
Because apparently he was like, well, tough shit. Because I feel like, did anybody get paid? This movie had no return.
Salary. Yeah, exactly. On
So
the
it's
making of the movie.
like, it had like $0 return. So yeah, so he was like, tough shit, I'm using this as the music video for our band, and they replaced his vocals, which probably sent it more over budget.
Oh my gosh. Well,
But
here
they were
you
great.
you are
And
not
the backing
alone.
band,
Joe says, I love this movie. I watch it every couple of years. Good songs. It's an action fantasy. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, absolutely. And Kathy is at 3 fire emoji for her rating of this one. Do continue. So yeah, they're an amazing band.
the backup, like the band, Ellen Ames's actual band,
Yeah.
was the real band for the woman that sang.
Whose voice was Ellen Ames, yeah.
Who was the
Not
actual
Diane Lane
voice.
singing. Yeah.
No. Diane Lane didn't sing. It was Lori. I have it somewhere.
I know Paula's not on
Lori
tonight, too.
Sargent.
Lori
Lori
Sargent.
Sargent.
Incredible
There was
voice.
also Holly Sherwood sang one of the songs as well, but Lori Sargent did the 2 main songs, and the band, like the backing band, was her real band. So that's kind of awesome.
Wow.
She was essentially started the movie, Lori Sargent.
Crazy. Well,
Great voice,
you
though.
were close, Nat. I went with 4, but
Okay, yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, I was gonna say I
That's
can move it to
reasonable.
5.
I mean, it
dealer's
is dubbed the
choice.
worst movie of all time.
Well, this show rates it 4, maybe 5. We'll figure out what
It's
we do.
a cult classic. It's fun. It's just fun. It's complete nonsense.
Joe says
like-
this movie has the worst guy pants, though. Not surprised that style never caught on.
They're kind
I'm
of
with you,
like
Joe.
almost like World War One meets the Civil War kind of pants.
Except for these
Like,
pants. These
well,
pants are
those.
fantastic.
And we're showing that picture of Buff Defoe.
Yeah, only on Defoe. No
yeah.
one else can pull this off, but he can.
They're-
He can wear
they're
these whenever he
fire.
wants. So I actually said at one point, this is embarrassing. Josh, cover your ears because you'll be humiliated with me. But I said at one point, I was like, wow, Willem Dafoe would have made an amazing 90s Batman villain. And Dane said, he was a Spider-Man villain. I was like, yeah, but I feel like that's wasted. He would have been really good. He was
the Green Goblin or the Hobgoblin.
But he would have been like a
Goblin's
phenomenal, like Robin. Robin. Jeez.
Robin's a good guy. Oh my God.
No,
Katie's panicking.
No, I'm panicking. No, I can't think of that. Joker. He would have made a phenomenal Joker.
Yeah.
90s
he
Joker.
was an amazing Hobgoblin.
He's creepy.
Green Goblin.
I like Willem Dafoe. I'm like
there's this
if we're placing bets on which like Hollywood celebrity I think is a serial killer, it's 100% Willem Dafoe.
No,
and yet I would
he's
get in the
so
car
nice.
anyway. I would still get
Apparently
in the car.
he's the nicest in
I
real
believe it.
life.
I believe
Like
it.
apparently he's just so sweet and
I
like
believe it, but I also think that he's a serial killer. I think
there's
he's a
this
really
old
nice serial killer. Yeah.
Okay,
He's creepy.
if we're
He
talking
plays
about who
creepy
serial
so
killers are,
well.
Matthew McConaughey.
I know.
There's
I lost
no
my
way
geek
he's
card.
not.
No. Matthew
Yes.
McConaughey is also a serial
Matthew
killer.
McConaughey,
Yeah.
pretty sure, like, shit went weird.
Yeah.
Jared Leto apparently is.
Yeah, Jared Leto.
Well, he's a cult leader.
No, but, like,
allegedly,
okay,
allegedly.
different. Okay, different class. Okay, people who like are very off-putting in real life, and I think that they and
Yeah.
everyone else loves them, and I think there's something wrong with them. That's Jared Leto and Matthew McConaughey for me. Willem Dafoe is like
No, I
everything
think
he's in.
bodies
I'm just
have
like, ooh,
dropped
he's
on
creepy.
McConaughey's sets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what? We're gonna have to watch just so people understand where this comes from. It's this deep-seated terror of Matthew
Our
McConaughey
fans
comes
are like,
from.
wait a second, we like Matthew McConaughey, and we're like,
I know.
no.
It's
But yeah.
just a me thing. I just got this.
No, it's from
red
Texas Chainsaw
flag.
Massacre. It's a Texas Chainsaw
The
Massacre
Next
thing.
Generation.
Next gen. Texas.
It's supposed to be
next gen
campy.
Star Trek.
No.
Next gen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Starred Renee Zellweger. Okay, it's supposed to be campy. Everybody's overacting. It's supposed to be super cheese.
Yeah.
And then there's McConaughey as Leatherface, just nailing the most straight-laced performance of his goddamn life.
Yeah, phenomenal acting in that one.
You
because
think he
we
was
really
good in
believe-
Dallas Buyers Club? You think he was good in True Detective? You should have seen him in fucking Texas
That
Chainsaw
was
Massacre: The Next
10
Generation.
10 potatoes across the board.
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
I have never been more scared in my life.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I tried finding the edit that we had rented from Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Can't
It's
find it.
gone,
Because
yeah.
remember Aliens at the end came, like the mothership came. Remember there was aliens at the end of it?
Yeah.
I bought the DVD, doesn't have aliens anymore.
Maybe we just like blacked out a whole bunch of
It's not a Mandela effect, okay? I don't
Feels
care.
like a Mandela
There were
effect.
aliens. You know what? We'll have to confer with the
Okay.
Chris's, the movie
confer.
Chris's,
We'll
Pats and
confer with
Bunbury.
this, yeah.
They will remember the aliens.
All right.
This
all
was
right.
like of the era when we watched movies. Oh my god.
Josh is with us for Jared Leto. There are definitely actors.
Ugh.
I
Oh, he just-
want to differentiate because I love Willem Dafoe and I think he is like
love.
a beautiful beautiful person, like looking
Yeah.
wise. And then I also think that he is a phenomenal actor. But
Yeah.
I think in every single role he's in, he's unhinged. And so there's something about that I'm just like, okay.
He does do that
he's
often.
so good at being unhinged that I feel like he probably is a really nice person. Also, I feel like I would unwillingly spend time with him, and the entire time I was there, I'd be like, "This is so exciting! I love Willem Dafoe." And also, where is he keeping the bodies? Because I'm
I
pretty
could
sure he
see-
kills people.
I could see maybe he's the kind of person
He's
that
a
doesn't
Hannibal
get social
Lecter.
cues.
He's a Hannibal Lecter kind of character in my mind,
Yeah.
like a real life Hannibal Lecter. Maybe he's not. I'm sorry, Willem Dafoe. I'm sure he's horrified.
I don't think he is. I think
What?
he's lovely.
He's probably lovely.
It's the other one that creeps
We need
me
to
out.
we need to share this. So we watched a video clip. We will link this in the
Yes.
show notes down
I
below.
was gonna say.
Yeah.
So because he's like, I understand where your unhinged comes from. Katie's husband found this interview he sent to us.
Yep.
Please explain, Katie.
So in this interview, and I don't remember any details about it because it's
Conan. He was
Oh,
Defoe
it
was on Conan.
Defoe was on Conan, and he was talking about the pronunciation of his name. Turns out that his name is actually Willem Dafoe. William Dafoe. But I guess that's just like not easy or fun to say, so he changed it to Willem
He
Dafoe.
said when he became an actor, and there's an old clip of him going on like a talk show or something, like, and what's your name? He's like, I'm William Dafoe.
William
it's like,
Dafoe.
who?
Yeah, William
Like,
Dafoe.
isn't it Willem Dafoe?
Which the
But
William part
he did
is
say some of his family says Dafoe and some doesn't.
Yeah, which I mean, the whole thing makes sense to me because actors change their names all the time. But
Yeah, and
but
I feel
then
like Willem,
Willem and
probably
Wim,
not his real. Yeah,
It probably is because Willem and Wim are nicknames for William. They're like Dutch, German, like that.
but Willem is also a real name, and I feel like he might have just Americanized it if his family had a super Dutch name, you know?
But so that's like that is a common
Ugh.
like Dutch, German, one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Translations
I
of
think
that
he
name.
just Americanized his name, or his immediate family, him and his immediate family Americanized his name from Willem Dafoe to William Dafoe. And then when he became an actor, it just got mispronounced anyways. And he was like, you know what? It sounds better.
It really does sound better. Good choice, William
Love
Dafoe.
him.
We really love you.
We
Well,
love you.
we have done it. Thank you for those who showed up on a Monday, pretend
Thank
Thursday.
you. Yeah.
To keep things just weird and wonky. We're sorry in advance. The next few weeks are going to be crazy, but we're doing episodes anyway because we're on a roll. So our next episode is Wednesday this week. So we'll see you in 2 days. This week, Wednesday, January 29th, we're going to be reviewing Bugsy Malone, another Nat pick. It's going to be fantastic. Next Wednesday, we're doing another episode. I can't remember what movie. And then the following Wednesday, so we're going to be on a Wednesday schedule. So there's a lot of Wednesdays. Oh, we're doing, upcoming is Groundhog Day. And
Yes.
I just want to show you, we are taking a tour, a virtual tour of Woodstock, which is the town that Groundhog Day was filmed in. So we have Mike from Woodstock.
In what state?
Joining us.
What state is it in?
Illinois.
Illinois. Okay. I'm like, I
Illinois.
feel like there's Woodstocks kind of everywhere.
I know there are
so
Woodstocks. There's a Woodstock,
which
Vermont, but
Woodstock?
we're going to Woodstock. There is.
Illinois.
I will share a graphic of this on our Instagram so you can see it. Also on our Twitter and everything else. But we're going to go to all these movie points of interest with Mike. He's going to take us on a tour, and then we're going to talk all about Groundhog Day. So that's coming up in early February 5th, Wednesday. So again, we're going to be a lot of fun Wednesday nights. I convinced Dane to join one of the episodes. He has not picked a movie yet. So we've got some fun stuff. And then at the end of February.
Down, it's Gattaca.
It's probably Gattaca. At the end of February, we're going to be doing Ghostbusters. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming up, including Groundhog Day, which is one of my all-time favorites. Ghostbusters is coming up. It's going to be super, super fun. So Bugsy Malone in a couple of days. Thank you for getting us to year 3. Fun giveaways coming if you sign up for our email list. And we're sorry for the chaotic schedule. We'll be back to our regular programming as of March. But for the next little bit, just a wild and wacky journey through episode 80 and beyond. So thank you for hanging out with us. Great choice, Nat. This was fun. I had a lot of fun watching this one. And I'm excited for Bugsy Malone. I think it's going to be great. I also have not seen that one to my knowledge. So who knows?
That was one that I would say that was my dad's pick because it was something he saw on TV one night. He filmed it, and he used to always film for us like without the commercial. So he'd hit the pause,
dad moves,
and then unpause.
Yeah.
And so we had this movie, and it was something from before our time, but he was like, this movie is great.
This is for that. So we're all in.
Child gangsters with marshmallow Tommy guns. My dad thought it was hilarious. So my brother and I used to watch this all the time as a kid, and we really enjoy it. Also a musical, much like this one.
Perfect.
More of a musical than this one because the actors sing as part of the
love
plot.
musicals. So grab your marshmallows.
Starring Jodie Foster.
Leave your guns, but grab your marshmallows. Grab a glass of something or other, and join us on Wednesday in a couple days. We'll talk all about Bugsy Malone. And be sure to sign up for our email so that you can keep up with our wacky schedule. It's our fun way of building our email list. If you want to know where we are, you've got to sign up to our email.
Not true. I just have a horrendous flu.
Yeah, we're all. Well, I'm
My
glad
recovery
you're
is
feeling better.
non-existent.
I'm glad you're feeling better. It's been.
I am not as feverish this week. It's an upswing. I'm taking it as an upswing.
I like it. Well, thank you to Josh and Joe and Kathy who are hanging out with us live. Also, Chance was here earlier. Hopefully he's still here hanging out with us. We appreciate everyone for listening and watching later, and we will hopefully see you all on Wednesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
King and Nat, walking the scene.